The term yandere refers to the Japanese archetype of a typically female character whose love for another is so strong that it's expressed as excessive obsession and possessiveness, sometimes leading them to going to extremes to secure the object of their affection. In this video, I intend to go through the different types of yandere and why we find this archetype so fascinating, as well as explaining some of the criticisms that have come up in regards to the concept of a yandere. Before I delve into the topic, I just want to say you should definitely check out my Patreon and memberships because you can get cool perks like seeing videos like these earlier than everybody else. The prefix yan comes from the verb yanderu, to be mentally sick, and the suffix from dere, meaning lovey-dovey. Just a forewarning for the rest of this video, my Japanese is abysmal and therefore I would like to make a formal sincere apology to the country of Japan, any Japanese people and speakers, because I'm about to butcher your language. Yandere is a spin-off of tsundere, an archetype of a character who is initially cold and harsh but softens over time. The tsundere first appeared in the early 2000s. There are two classes of yandere that have different subtypes within those classes. The first class is the love trope, characters who go to extreme measures to be with, keep, or save their love interest. They may have originated by exaggerating the aspects of Yamato Nadeshiko, the personification of an idealized Japanese woman. They choose to be in love, it's not something that happens to them. Their love interest is perfect to them and the center of their universe. The next type of yandere is the shock trope. They have different motivations and their actions tend to yield different results than their love trope counterpart. Their behaviors are attributed to their own insecurities, and their motives can include selfishness and loneliness. Some of these are simply designed to make the love interest life more painful or dramatic for audience entertainment. Now let's get into the different subtypes of yandere, and before I begin, I will be citing the Dere Types wiki, and I'd like to thank them for making it really easy by putting these all in concise categories. First few types are categorized by obsession. Number 1, Mugagata, the harmless type. This type of yandere is not a detriment towards their love interest. The love trope class of this seeks to bring joy and fulfillment to the lives of their love interest, taking care of their needs before their own. They may even give up marrying their love interest if their love interest is wanting to be with somebody else. They put their love interest's happiness before their own. However, the flip side of this means that they can easily be taken advantage of by their love interest. The shock trope class of this type of yandere is very similar to the love trope, however they may be ignored and outright rejected by their love interest. Whereas the love trope may still be involved with the love interest in some way, shape or form, even if that's just as friends. This means that the shock trope version will elicit more audience sympathy. Shuchakugata. Obsession type, shuchaku, literally translating to attachment. This type of yandere always needs to know what their love interest is doing. The love class may spend long periods of time fantasizing about the potential future that they can have with their love interest. The shock type will obsess over their love interest even if it hinders on their own lives. Sorry, can't come out today, too busy building a shrine for my love. Tokagata. The stalker type. This type of yandere wants to know everything about their love interest. The love class will engage in activities that their love interest likes and choose to be near their love interest at all times. The shock version will follow around their love interest even if their love interest doesn't want them there, and they will take photos of their love interest without their knowledge, especially in times of privacy, such as when they're sleeping or bathing. Jikogi Segata. The self-sacrifice type. The love class of this is extremely giving and will put their love interest needs above their own and sometimes can be somewhat of a doormat. The shock class of this may unnecessarily risk their own life for their love interest, which leads to a lot of pointless deaths. Izongata, the dependence type. These types of yandere depend on their love interest. The love class of this will seek to be vulnerable around them so that their love interest can be there as a solid support system for them. The shock type can literally only function with their love interest around. Doksengata, the monopoly type. These yandere will focus on maximizing the time spent with their love interest. The love class will reduce time they spend around others if it means spending more time with their love interest. With the shock version, they will cling to their love interest. Their love interest cannot get a moment's peace. Suhagata, the worship type. This class of yandere has an aggrandized opinion of their love interest. The love trope class may self-deprecate in comparison, believing that they are lesser than their love interest. The shock type see the love interest as a god, and literally do not care how they're treated by their love interest, or care if they're loved in return. The next section of types of yandere are all categorized by target, the love interest. Sosetekigata, the manipulative type. This type of yandere wants their love interest to react positively to them. The love class may manipulate their love interest's feelings or worldview in order to facilitate this, but they don't intend to harm them. The shock class think that love is manipulation, and are willing and able to pry apart their loved ones psychologically. Chokyogata, the training type. This type of yandere wants their love interest to devote themselves to them, ideally from the beginning. The love class will do this because they want the love interest to care about them. The shock type will mercilessly train their love interest and may treat them like an animal. Koritsuyudogata, the loneliness induction type. This type of yandere wants their love interest all to themselves. The love class may seek to place seeds of mistrust and doubt within others in order for their love interest to only really trust them only. The shock trope class will induce mental trauma into their love interest's head in order to push them away from others. They are willing and able to destroy relationships and ruin whole family to get their love interest as isolated and vulnerable as possible. Sokubakugata, the restraint type. They want their love interest to be with them literally always. The love class might not actually use ropes or chains, they will just incessantly place themselves right next to, on top of, or underneath where their love interest is or will be. In some fantasy genres, this type of yandere may seek to use magic or curses in order to psychologically or emotionally bind their love interest to them. Although in this type specifically, it also might have a physical component to it, so their love interest can't go too far away from them or it will cause some kind of pain. The shock trope of this will tie and or drug their love interest to restrain them. They pull them out when they want something and put them back in when they're done with them. In extreme cases, they will even amputate or break their love interest's legs or feet so they can't go anywhere else for the rest of their lives. DV-gata, the DV type. They believe that if words don't work, stronger methods must be employed. The love class understand that they can't force their love interest to love them or force their love interest to change for the better for them. They choose to be violent to make the severity of the problem more apparent and to boost their love interest motivation in hopes of changing their love interest. If this doesn't work, then they lose the motivation to be violent towards their love interest. The shock trope class, however, attempts to control their love interest through violence. They may even kill their love interest if they become upset enough or when they feel betrayed by their love interest. They aren't interested in hitting or kicking out of a lack of emotional control or because they don't know what else to do. They simply want power. This next category of yandere is categorized by their actions towards their target, the competition. Hogogata, the protective type. They care deeply for the well-being and happiness of their love interest and fear what other more cruel people with bad intentions can do to them. The love type will push away other people who might be a bad influence on behalf of their love interest, usually with threats or violence behind the scenes without the love interest's knowledge. If their love interest is a victim of bullying, one day the bully will suddenly keep their distance or even disappear the next day without a trace, never to be seen again. The love class also won't let their love interest go near anyone or anywhere once they see that danger is too great, and they need to make sure that their love interest is safe and out of harm's way before leaving them alone. On the other hand, the shock trope class see everything and everyone as a threat to their love interest. They will use extreme methods to get rid of other dangerous people permanently, even punishing and torturing them for the harm that they did to their love interest, even if they didn't do any real harm. Haijogata, the removal type. Haijo, literally meaning exclusion. They believe that they are all their love interest needs, and will seek to remove other people from their love interest's life. The love trope class will do this by destroying messages, both physical and virtual. For example, if somebody else gives them a note to pass on to their love interest, they'll destroy it. Or they may go on their love interest's email or on their phone to get rid of messages. The shock trope class seek to drive away other people by threatening, hurting, or outright killing them. This next section of types of yandere are classified by the target, the yandere themselves. Jisogata, the self-harm type. These yanderes don't believe they can go on without their love interest. In regards to the love trope class, they can enter a deep depression with thoughts of self-harm creeping into their minds and possibly even self-deletion if they are without them. The shock trope class, on the other hand, will harm themselves to gain a reaction from their love interest. For example, to manipulate them by threatening to harm themselves more if they don't stay, or to elicit sympathy from them. Or they may also do this to show their true devotion towards them. The rest of these yandere that will be talked about in this video are all under the shock type trope. Shoshigata, the disappearance type. Some of these characters may never have even approached their love interest, believing that their love interest will never care for them and it depresses them, and they don't think that they're enough for their love interest. Sometimes they will move away to some far-off place, and sometimes they might even commit self-deletion. If they decide to commit self-deletion, they might even request or provoke their love interest to be the one to end their life, because it will bring them the most happiness. Shinjigata, the double self-deletion type. They believe that they will be with their love interest after death, or that by killing each other they will not be able to pursue or be pursued by other love interests. They then kill themselves. It's also possible that after a fit of rage or confusion, they kill their love interest and then regret it. Shumatsugata, the final type. If their love interest dies or disappears, they lose all sense of meaning in the world. They might try to destroy the world that took their love interest, or take vengeance on behalf of their love interest, or they might end up committing self-deletion. They also might try to find a way to revive or bring back their love interest, no matter if it's physically possible to do so in the universe that they're in or not. And the last section of yandere types are all categorized by state of mind. Mosogata, the delusion type. This type of yandere is completely delusional. They believe that everything that they are doing is completely justified, and they have a warped sense of reality and their love interest. If their love interest rejects them and says that they don't like them, no, that can't possibly be what their love interest means. Something else is going on. They do truly love me. Or if their love interest is in a relationship with somebody else, no, that girl must be manipulating and lying to them. She's the problem, I'm not the problem. Kanshigagata, the wrong idea type. Now this one does actually have a love trope class within it, and that is, desiring to believe what the ideal outcome is, what their love interest wants, they will mistake what is wanted or requested, substituting it with their own desires for their love interest. If their love interest says, hey, I really fancy going out for a coffee, I very specifically would like to have a latte, they'll go and get them a coffee and bring them a mocha, because that's actually what they want, right? They seek to fulfill their misunderstood love interest's every wish. It kind of comes from the idea that they know what's best for their love interest. The shock trope class misunderstand or believe without evidence that their love interest wants something, and then they act on that belief. They go to great lengths to obtain or accomplish what they misperceive their love interest is wanting. Toegata. The projection type. They project their ideal lover onto their love interest and expect their love interest to act just like their ideal lover, even forcing these notions on them, and become upset if their love interest doesn't act or behave like their ideal love interest. They might even get their love interest to modify their physical appearance, such as buying them new clothes and suggesting that they get a haircut to look like how they want them to look, or may take it upon themselves to cut their love interest's hair without their knowledge. Kyokigata. Bizarre seeking type. They desire very strange things that people wouldn't really want as a memento of their love interest. This includes fingernails, hair, blood, teeth, and other body parts that can be taken without ending their love interest's life. But some of them may do that anyway. For example, if they end the life of their loved one or their loved one dies by some other means, they may want to take the corpse and turn them into a doll, or take vital parts of their body such as their heart or head. So those are both classes of Yandere and all the different subtypes of a Yandere, and of course some characters can have more than one type. You can have Yanderes that are stalker types as well as being worship types or training types, and they could also be protective types, all depends on the character. The observation I've made that can indicate the reason Yanderes are so fascinating is a subversion of expectations. While DV and SA is not uncommon with men as the victim, men are not the ones often pictured as the victims. The CDC reported that 1/4 of men report SA in their lifetime, and 1 out of 10 men report sexual violence or stalking by a partner. On the other hand, according to Stalking Awareness, 1/3 of women report being stalked, and 40% of those women said they were stalked by a partner. And according to gov.co.uk, 7.3% of women report being victims of DV. It's important to note that men are less likely to report if they are the victim of any type of crime. Therefore, data may not be representative of all domestic violence cases. The media also does report on DV and SA cases against women more, and thriller or horror fiction often has a male antagonist. A more recent popular example is Joe from Netflix's You. And so the archetype of a stalker obsessed with someone they think they love is normally a male. There are several problems with the Yandere archetype, for example the romanticization of DV against men and mental illness. And no, this isn't me being sensitive. I do believe that the Yandere trope should be allowed to exist. I think the Yandere trope is interesting and can be explored in many different ways. I don't necessarily think that just because something harmful is portrayed in media that it will cause real-life cases. However, societal and cultural expectations may influence how we perceive certain things in media. For example, if the roles were reversed and this was a man doing this to a woman, there would be outrage. If there was a TV show that had a man stalking a woman, taking pictures of her late at night and eventually kidnapping her and holding her at knife point, it would be considered a horror. But in the Yandere trope, it can be part of romantic comedies. The next part I don't have much of an issue with, and it's the romanticization of mental illness, because most of the time they don't actually name the mental illness. Some people don't like this because it's just saying that the Yandere is crazy and therefore mental illness is just being crazy. I don't mind, however, because number one, they don't name a specific mental illness, meaning that there isn't a specific mental illness that is going to be stigmatized based on the Yandere's existence, although I do concede that there are certain circumstances where dissociative identity disorder, or DID, can be brought in as an aspect for the Yandere having a split personality. But my second reason for not minding this is that the mental illness has little to nothing to do with the entire plot. If anything, it's merely a catalyst for the Yandere's actions that will further the plot along. But I do want to circle around to the Yandere trope and real-life examples of this, and commentate on how we treat real-life cases based on the Yandere stereotype. There was the case of Yuka Takaoka. On May 23, 2019 at 3:50 p.m, Tokyo Metropolitan Police arrested Yuka for stabbing a male acquaintance twice in the abdomen with a kitchen knife. A crime scene photograph later circulated showing Yuka smoking a cigarette while on the phone and sitting next to her acquaintance's body. I will say that it's up for debate as to whether these two were in a relationship or not. Some sources state that they were together in a relationship and he was her boyfriend, and others say he was merely a male acquaintance. Once she was caught, she made the statement, "Since I loved him so much, I just couldn't help it. After killing him, I too wanted to die." This is what gave her the Yandere nickname. The man survived, I do believe, but remained in critical condition for quite a while. After the case, fan art was created of her with the hashtag #YuYuYunChan, and a GoFundMe was created to bail her out of jail, and it raised $3,800 in the first 2 days. After that, GoFundMe shut the fundraiser down. This is incredible to me because just imagine if this was a man who stabbed his girlfriend twice in the abdomen to the point where she had to be put in a hospital in critical condition. Do you think we would romanticize that man? I suppose some people could argue that it's the same thing as this cult following that some serial killers get, the "I could fix him" mentality of many 80s serial killers. But it seems insidious to me that a man was fighting for his life in hospital while his attacker was having money raised for her bail. What do you guys think about the Yandere trope? Are you like me, who is fascinated by it and understands the fascination, but also understands that there's a slight cognitive dissonance in regards to the gender of the perpetrator? Let me know what you think in the comments below, and if you watched this entire video, I don't know, comment a plant emoji, and I'll see you guys in the next video.